Weather on News Radio KMAN is brought to you by the Flint Hills Discovery Center. Host your next event or holiday party at the Discovery Center. Visit FlintHillsDiscovery.org for more information.
How long does it take to get to the forest?
That's not far.
What are we gonna do? Hike?
Sure.
Are we there yet?
Yep, it's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. Visit discovertheforest.org, brought to you by the Ad Council and the U.S. Forest Service.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area forecast, calling for mostly cloudy skies tonight with a low of 33 and a south wind and around 5 miles per hour. Very calm evening overall for wind. There's a chance for morning sprinkles and flurries tomorrow before 10 a.m., and a chance of rain throughout the day at about 40%. Otherwise, cloudy skies with a high of 43 and a wind out of the north that could get as high as 20 miles per hour. Mostly cloudy skies then tomorrow night, a low of 23, expecting a very chilly one on Thanksgiving. 39 with sunshine throughout the day, and we'll have a low of 17 that evening. Right now it is 53 in the Little Apple. The game coming your way next here on News Radio KMAN.
The following is an exclusive presentation of News Radio KMAN, your home for K-State athletics. It's game time. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Chris Klieman says it is unfair what is happening to the Big 12. That is in reference to the college football playoff. The disrespect that the Big 12 they get from college football when a big team goes down, and that it's a black eye on the Big 12. We're going to hear from Chris Klieman here in just a moment. Hour number 2, Coleman Hawkins looking a lot better after the Pardise Jam, but I certainly still have my concerns about the team moving forward. Mitch in Vegas in hour number 2. We'll talk a little K-State women's basketball in hour number 2 as well. Jabroni of the week, and we have our preview of the Iowa State Cyclones with Alec Busse. Used to cover K-State a couple of years ago with Mason Voth with EMA Online. He then went to cover Illinois. Now he's covering Iowa State for 24/7 Sports. And so we're going to hear from Alec coming up here in roughly 20 minutes or so. Busy show today, and we're jamming a lot of stuff in today's show because this is our only show of the week. We're all going out of town tomorrow. We got a lot of Thanksgivings going on. AJ is heading home to Chicago for Thanksgiving. He's leaving tomorrow morning, and I have a 6A state championship game to call on Friday, and of course Thanksgiving on Thursday. So,
how's the voice, by the way?
No, we're good. Probably wasn't great Saturday at the Bill, but not really my biggest concern. Just trying to do my job. You know,
there was a lot to get excited about in that game for sure, especially at the end. We had a little mashup of your big calls near the end there to start scoreboard on Saturday, but definitely exhilarating to see Manhattan head back to the state title game in a rematch with Gardner. That
game against Derby was crazy.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, Manhattan got out to a 21-7 lead to go into the half, and Derby makes it 21-14. Manhattan's Carter Aslan goes down with an injury. Derby looks like they have the momentum. Derby made a ton of mistakes. Manhattan was able to capitalize on quite a bit. Manhattan would make some mistakes, and they're able to succeed through adversity quite a bit in that game. So Manhattan just had more resiliency. And to be honest with you, I think they're the more talented team than Derby was. And, I mean, nobody was giving, honestly, Manhattan a big shot.
Derby did have some injuries, too. They had some guys banged up as well.
Throughout the game.
Yeah.
Throughout the game. Well, Desan Brame, who's committed to go to Tennessee to play tight end, there was rumors going around that he was hurt and maybe wouldn't play against Manhattan. Markel Jackson is a defensive back who's committed to play for K-State. Sound like he was dealing with some ankle injury, and actually late in the game he did come up limping at one point. But everybody played for Derby.
Yeah, I mean, but it's the end of the year. You're expecting guys to be banged up and dealing with ankles and feet and wrists and shoulders and arms. And yeah, but in the end, the better team won that game. Manhattan clearly was the better team, and they won the game.
Yeah, I think we just now have to come to terms with maybe the landscape of 6A shifting a little bit. And it's not so much Derby just being the consistent juggernaut. I mean, they're getting a sub-state.
Yep.
But now twice in the last 3 years, Manhattan has beaten Derby and Sub-State. And they're the ones going to the state championship game. Derby has not won a state title since 2020, and Manhattan could very well be winning their second one in the last 3 years. And they're showing to be very consistent in talent, very consistent in winning, very consistent in extremely good coaching, doing things the right way. So things are really in Manhattan's favor right now of controlling 6A. They got to get past Gardner Edgerton, who won last year's state championship game over the Derby Panthers. The shift of college football is not exactly the same story. We now have super conferences. They're going to continue to grow, I would imagine. I consider college football going in the wrong direction. It's already, with the latest round of conference realignment, not a fun direction to see where college football is heading, in my opinion. These conferences are way too big, and we are now in the most biased form and biased era of college football, particularly for the SEC in the Big Ten. Chris Klieman, this was brought up at the end of the press conference just because to set the table for the Big 12, there are still 8 teams that can still get into the Big 12 championship game. It's absolute chaos at this point of the season that you have that many teams. You have half of the conference that can still make the Big 12 championship game. Now, K-State right now is 14, 15% chance of getting in. Everybody behind them, it's extremely slim. And right now the odds are still in favor of those that are still tied for first place, like an Arizona State, a Colorado, BYU. A little bit more of a long shot, of course, for K-State and Iowa State, but even though Colorado and BYU lost last week, they still have a good shot of getting in, and they don't have tough competition standing in their way. Colorado has Oklahoma State at home. BYU has Houston at home. K-State and Iowa State, one of them just have to win their games and cross their fingers that some teams are going to lose that get them in the college football playoff.
Well, K-State's also going to know.
The Big 12 championship game, right?
They're going to know by Saturday because Colorado plays Friday.
Well, it's not just that game. Mm-hmm. Because BYU, Houston could be a factor. It would help if Baylor lost their game.
Baylor's playing Saturday, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
It would help if Baylor lost their game. Get out of the way because Baylor because of their their record against the top teams in the Big 12. All right, I can't remember what tiebreaker now comes down to, but anyway. But to give you another picture on how this lays out right now, if those 8 teams, it's still possible, all finish 6-3, it'd be K-State and Baylor getting into the Big 12 championship game, which is just insane. But if you take a look at the college football playoff standings, despite the chaos, despite the SEC being a lot like the Big 12, wherever we're just kind of cannibalizing each other, messing up each other's seasons, the only difference is the SEC has one team that still just has one loss. Everybody else has at least 2, like the Big 12. But they have still Texas up there with 1 loss. And by the way, did you know UMass has played more ranked SEC opponents this year than Texas?
Yeah, I saw that earlier.
Crazy.
It's crazy indeed.
But anyway, right now the landscape of college football is not in the favor of powers like the ACC and the Big 12. And conference losses are more harmful for the Big 12 than it is the other conferences. Well, we're having some technical difficulties here. Hold on just a moment.
Lose in other leagues, and it's that league's really good. We lose in this league, and this league stinks. And I don't understand that. As a conference, we need to get together and figure some things out, because for a bunch of teams to be 9-3 and us not get any of those things in the college football playoff, then we've got to cancel one of these games. I don't care what people say. We then go to 8 games in league play, or stay with 9 but play an FCS or play a group of 5. And I'd say, well, that would hurt you. I don't care. You say what you want. 10-2 looks better than 9-3.
Yes, it does. I don't think it's that easy, and I think Coach brings up a bunch of good points. I really do. But I first got to say, what were we expecting? We knew this was going to be biased towards the SEC and the Big Ten. Here's my thought. The Big 12 this year has kind of sort of been in its own way, with nobody at the top of the Big 12 with less than 2 losses. So that hurts you right there. That's hard to be a bigger argument than those with 2 losses in the Big Ten and SEC because, again, bias and, I mean, the Big 12, their last national championship team was 1990. There's just it's based on reputation. It's way too much based on reputation, in my opinion. But also the college football playoff, their goal is to get the best teams in the college football playoff. Not those that deserve to be in, but to get the best teams in. And I know they base this a lot on eye tests, which I think you have to if you're going to put the best teams in. But the way teams recruit and the high-end talent, yeah, a lot of that is the Big Ten and the SEC. But in my opinion about the Big 12 and the way it just hasn't worked out this year for the Big 12 is, yes, everybody beating everybody. Your top teams are not winning down the stretch. And also, the Big 12 is not going scripted whatsoever. It's the opposite. If it would have just stayed the way we kind of had things playing out in our head at the beginning of the year, Utah runs the table. Their schedule is set up to do that. Cam Rising still plays. They're not dealing with all these injuries. And K-State takes care of business. You have this tight run to the Big 12 championship game with Utah and K-State not playing until the Big 12 championship game. Hell yes, the Big 12 gets 2 teams in. It absolutely would happen. But that's not the case. So in a way, yes, the Big 12 got in their own way with just not competing good enough to get at least a couple of teams in. But Chris Klieman says the Big 12 deserves more than 1 team in the college football playoff.
We're going to visit at this year's conference meetings, and we have to do things to benefit our league for the 12-team playoff, not to just benefit our league in general. We need to be able to get 2 and 3 teams in 12-team playoff. The carnage that you're seeing is going to allow for 1 most likely. I wish it would get 2, but it's probably going to allow for 1. We can control that. I really believe that. And we just got to get everybody on the same page and believe that we can control it, because what's going on right now isn't fair to the Big 12.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, I agree. I don't have a clue what that answer is. I don't know if moving to 8 conference games and playing an FCS at the second to last week or the third to last week is the right answer, because you're just going to weaken your schedule, give the other people more ammo to say, yeah, your conference is weak, you're not playing a tough schedule. I don't have a clue what the right answer is until somebody from the Big 12 steps up and says, I'm going to be that juggernaut. I'm going to consistently represent us in the college football playoff as a Big 12 representative, as a Big 12 champion, and shows that they're actually a threat to go win a national championship. Because, again, this is so much based on reputation, the SEC winning national championship after national championship for a couple of decades. And then, of course, I think the Big Ten sucks, but then you got a ton of brands over there as well, which leans in more to bias and who's going to watch these games.
The media plays a big role in it. They absolutely play a big role in it. 100%. ESPN totally plays a role in it. I mean, it's just that's the reality of the situation. You don't have many pro Big 12 people on media. It's a lot of pro SEC, pro Big 10. That's just the reality of the situation.
If Utah got their way and was that big deal like they thought they were coming into the Big 12, yes, we're probably in a different spot. But I do have a big question about these new rankings that come out tonight because of Alabama losing. Because this puts the committee in a very interesting situation.
Yeah.
About how things shift. Because, BYU loses at home to KU, who's playing great football right now. But they lose at home, and they dropped 8 spots. It was like the committee was just waiting for them to lose. So they're like, get out of here, Cougars. Did you really think you belonged here? You didn't. With 1 loss, you're now out of the playoff. You're now the worst conference champion projected right now. It took 1 loss after starting undefeated to fall like that. And I thought that was a load of crap. But now Alabama has 3 losses. They're ranked 7th. And they just lost on the road to a team that had won just 1 conference game all season in Oklahoma. They played like absolute crap in that game against Oklahoma, who barely has an offense, does have a good defense. They scored 3 points. So is the committee going to drop a 3-loss Alabama team the way they should, or are they going to make a mockery out of themselves and keep Alabama within reach of the college football playoff?
I think we know the answer, but
because Alabama, I guarantee, is going to be put in a spot where it takes maybe a team or two to lose down the stretch, and they're going to backdoor their way into the college football playoff with 3 losses. And there are some other SEC 3-loss teams, or other Big Ten or Big 12 or ACC that have resumes that could compete with Alabama's, but they're not going to get in over Alabama. That's where you're going to see maybe some bias take over because Alabama's been a juggernaut for so long. I don't know, but we'll see. I don't know.
It'll be an interesting conversation for sure tomorrow. They've done crazier things before, but it's very. And Troy makes this point a lot, and I know he likes to rant about it, but he makes a good point. The bias toward the Big Ten, the bias toward the SEC over the Big 12 is ridiculous. I mean, there are plenty of teams in the Big 12 that deserve credit for what they've done. BYU's been a great story. Arizona State has been a fabulous story. They were supposed to be dead last. And Kenny Dillingham has come in and made that program a contender to make it into the college football playoff. They aren't getting the same recognition, I feel, that an SEC school would receive. Well,
and look how all the Fox and ABCs are scheduling these games.
Bingo.
Every weekend, it's the SEC getting all 3 games on ABC.
And here's the funny thing.
Fox is, Big Noon is always going to the Big Ten.
If Oklahoma and Texas were still in the Big 12, they would talk about them, but they would only talk about the Big 12 because of those 2 schools. That's the only reason why they would talk about them. Because those would be the 2 schools consistently carrying the narrative with the conference. Texas is a big game against A&M on Saturday. There's a possibility, even if they lose that game, they're probably still going to get in.
But here's another issue, though. A way the Big 12 could prove itself and be more of a respected conference is actually by playing teams in the SEC and Big Ten. Mm-hmm. But now the SEC and Big Ten are just going to start scheduling each other in the non-conference. So the Big 12, I think at least step one is build that alliance with the ACC. It's you may be moving the needle a little bit, but you'll take a little bit than nowhere at all, I guess. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why you see – I don't think K-State has actually announced this officially, but a home-and-home with NC State will be on the horizon here in I can't remember when it was, but it's at least a few years away on that when that will be taking place. You're going to probably see more scheduling like that here in I'm not talking necessarily K-State, but just Big 12 and ACC announcing these scheduling these home and homes with one another.
So an NC State website says they'll be going to NC State in 27, and then they're going to come to Manhattan in 2032. NC State also in 2027 is probably going to return to Texas Tech, play them in Lubbock.
Yeah, I don't like the non-conference schedules coming up for K-State because they're going to play Army next year. I don't know exactly what that will do for anybody. Next year, was it Washington State?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Got Tulane again in a couple of years.
Oh, that's fun. All right, we got to take a break. Still to come in hour number 2, we'll talk about Coleman Hawkins and K-State basketball after finishing 3rd place in the Paradise Jam. Coleman Hawkins looking better, but I still have my concerns moving forward, plus Mitch in Vegas in hour number 2. When we come back, K-State football is in action on Saturday. Not going to have a lot of time to talk about this week and this game and what it means. I mean, we'll talk about that with our guests coming up here in a little bit. What I'm trying to get at here is Power Cat Game Day, Saturday, 2:30 for the biggest pregame show in the Big 12 as the Cats wrap up the regular season at Iowa State. Cyclones are 9-2, K-State 8-3. Both teams still have a shot at getting into the Big 12 championship game. So whoever wins that game obviously boosts their odds a little bit. And by the way, Iowa State looking for their 10th win ever. First time ever. 10 wins. I do not want that happening against K-State. I'd give up a lot for that not to happen against K-State. When we come back, we preview the Cyclones with Alec Busse next on The Game.
Game on. Tweet the game, KMAN. Or call 537-1350 and get in touch with the show. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Dollars spent locally today help build a better community for tomorrow.
WTC Fiber Internet is on its way to all of Manhattan. Sign your home or business up today at WTCKS.com. No contracts, no data caps, or overage fees. Fast, local, reliable. WTC Fiber Internet. Sign up today at WTCKS.com.
I'm Shelby Cole, owner of Salon Tendencies. I believe everyone deserves to feel beautiful without breaking the bank. You can find me at Ivy Hair Studio in Candlewood or message me at 785-747-7967. Don't wait. Book that appointment with me because your beauty is my tendency.
D&I Plumbing, Heating, and Air will provide honest and quality service when you need it most. From a leaky faucet to replacing your water heater. Trust the experts at D&I Plumbing, Heating, and Air. Your York and other makes and models local dealer. Call 537-7138 today.
Manhattan Broadcasting is keeping it local. Find more great local businesses plus special deals and offers when you keep it local on our website.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
My name is Ariel. When I arrived in the U.S. at 19, I struggled to find job opportunities without my high school diploma. My entire life changed when I took a chance and got my high school diploma at age 22. Everything I have, my education, my career, my marriage, I owe to the Adult Literacy Center and my teachers. They were with me every step of the way, helping with my English and math, making sure I pushed through all the challenges.
Ariel, your success proves that what I'm doing as a teacher has real meaning.
It was an honor helping you achieve your greatness. Now you're helping others achieve theirs. It inspires me.
Education was the key that unlocked all my opportunities.
When you graduate, they graduate. Find free and supportive adult education centers near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Peyton Manning, and I'm partnering with the American Red Cross this year to tackle blood shortages. Giving blood's important because every 2 seconds, someone actually needs blood, and unfortunately, only like 3% of the U.S. population donates. So we have to step up to give and to make sure there's plenty of blood available for those in need. Visit redcrossblood.org to get in the game and make an appointment to give.
Aslan will run it himself up the gut. He's loose. 20, 15, 10, 5. Touchdown! Manhattan High!
The Indians play here. News Radio, KMAN.
The state title game awaits the Manhattan Indians!
Manhattan High will put an unbeaten season on the line against Gardner Edgerton in the 6A title game. Coverage Friday begins at 1:30 with Mitch Fortner and Cole Dutchendorf live from Emporia. Presented by the KMAN Sportscasters Club.
I'm AJ Shaw with a sports update for News Radio KMAN as the game continues. Ashland Jackson scored a career-high 30, and number 13 Duke defeated number 9 K-State 73-62 in the semifinals of the Bulldogs Classic. Jackson, who has reached double figures in all 6 of Duke's games, shot 12 of 19 from the field, including 6 of 9 from three-point range.
Guards did not handle their physicality and the pressure that they gave us in the half-court defense. I was concerned about that coming in because we haven't faced a team like that. And and even though we have practiced it and we have our male practice squad guys that go through that, it is different when the lights are on and a really talented team does that.
Jeff Mitty, after his team was led by senior center Aoka Lee with 16 points. The loss puts K-State into a 1 o'clock game tomorrow afternoon here on News Radio KMAN and our sister station, Sunny 102.5. As for the men, Coleman Hawkins led the way with 19 points and 10 boards as K-State picked up an 80-64 victory over Longwood in the third-place game of the Pardise Jam. He went 7 for 10 from the field with 5 3-pointers as the Cats moved to 5-2 on the season. In volleyball, K-State graduate outside hitter Aaliyah Carter was named the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week for the 7th time in her career and the 3rd time this season. She had a match-high 24 kills against in-state rival KU. Now back to the game on News Radio KMAN.
Back on the game, Mitch Fortner and AJ Shaw. Only show this week. Power K Game Day coming up at 2:30 Saturday afternoon. Myself, along with Zach Nemechek, Mason Voth, and Tim Everson, get you set for K-State, Iowa State in Ames, Jack Trice Stadium, kicking off at 6:30. I just happen to have some tickets in my hand that I would like to give away. 4 tickets to the basketball doubleheader Sunday in Bramlage Coliseum. It starts at 1 o'clock. The men will take on Arkansas Pine Bluff. That starts at 1 o'clock. And then after that game concludes, 30 minutes after that, K-State will host the Sugar Bears of Central Arkansas, tipping off at approximately 3:30. 1 ticket gets you into both games, and I have a 4-pack. So, what should we have them text? What word should we pick out?
Let's go David.
David, okay. Got a couple of Davids on the men's team. All right, text David to 785-537-1350 if you want an opportunity to win 4 tickets. Again, the phone number is 785-537-1350. Text the word David to that number. And later on in the show, during a break, we will draw up a random number of those that text in. We'll give that number a call, and if you pick up, you get a chance to win, or you will win 4 tickets to the doubleheader coming up on Sunday. We'll talk more hoops here in hour number 2 coming up at 5:10. My reaction to Coleman Hawkins and K-State basketball finishing 3rd place at the Pardise Jam. And a little bit later on in the second hour as well, we'll talk some K-State women's basketball. I was not impressed with the guard play against Duke, and I'll bring up some specific reasons why I did not like their performance. Losing by 11 to number 13 Duke. They will play Oklahoma tomorrow, which and it's on Flow Hoops. Flow Hoops or Flow College or whatever it is. What a poverty of a whatever you want to call it, service to broadcast sports. It's
Flow
awful.
Hoops? Oh, gosh.
Oh, and so I'm sorry, not Oklahoma, DePaul. Excuse me. They're playing DePaul tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
That's an insult to the state of Illinois and Evanston, Illinois.
Is that where that's all from?
DePaul. DePaul's from Evanston.
Oh, DePaul. Yes, yeah. Sorry. No, Flow Hoops is absolutely garbage.
Yep.
The whole first half, they didn't have the score bug up. It wasn't working, I guess, and the whole thing is pixelated. It's just not. It's not good. It's not good at all. The broadcasters are super cheesy, not enjoyable.
Yeah, Brett Yormark's going to look into that during
think?
the offseason. Yeah, I think he needs to look into that.
We need to start previewing the Iowa State Cyclones as K-State and Iowa State will kick off at 6:30 on Saturday. It is the regular season finale, and the Cyclones looking for their 10th win for the first time in program history. As we now check in with Alec Busse, who writes for 24/7 Sports. He covers the Iowa State Cyclones. A couple of years ago was covering K-State with EMA Online. Alec, great to talk to you once again. It wasn't too long ago that Iowa State, they started undefeated and then lost 2 straight, a comeback win for Texas Tech on the road, and then get blown out at Kansas. How were those 2 losses taken? Was it a long 3 or 4 weeks for Iowa State to recover from those 2 losses?
Yeah, I think the Texas Tech loss back in the beginning of November was pretty frustrating for the fan base just because of the way it happened. You think about Rocco Beck essentially throwing 2 pick sixes. That obviously leads to 14 points for Texas Tech. And then you take the lead, I think, with about 2 minutes and 10 seconds left, and you feel like, hey, you're going to win the game. You're going to do enough to kind of, pull a rabbit out of your hat, I guess, for the second straight week after beating UCF a week or two prior. But then the defense isn't able to get off the field. So I think that was pretty frustrating for them. They end up losing basically on a game-winning play for Texas Tech. And then a week later, you go to Kansas. And I feel like that was the first time where injuries really started to pop up for Iowa State, and you started to see their depth really show depletion, I guess you could kind of say. And I think KU just kind of outplayed them, which KU has kind of made a habit of doing against ranked teams in the last 3 weeks. So I think the frustration level after the KU loss wasn't nearly as high as it was after the loss to Texas Tech, because I think people are easier to just kind of say, hey, KU kind of had our number today. They were better than us. But the Texas Tech loss, I feel like they kind of feel like, from a fan base perspective, a coaching staff perspective, and even from a player's perspective, that they maybe let that one get away.
So Rocco Becht is the quarterback for the second straight year after the whole gambling issues last year. He takes over. They really caught some mojo second half of the year, and even against K-State, that win in Manhattan last year, really built some confidence in these returning players like a Rocco Becht, like an Abu Sama. He just has one game this year. He has failed to throw for 200 yards this season. So where is his status right now as an Iowa State quarterback, maybe compared to the start of the season to now? Has that grown over the season?
Yeah, I think he's just been a consistent contributor for Iowa State for the last 2 years. For the most part, he's given them a chance to win every single game that Iowa State has played. His statistical impact this season maybe isn't much greater than it was a season ago. He threw 23 touchdowns, so I think 8 interceptions a year ago. He's at 8 touchdowns with 8 interceptions this year. 18 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, like I said. And then, he's approaching 3,000 total passing yards, completing over 61% of his passes, which is pretty similar to what he did a year ago. But he's just a really consistent playmaker. He's a quick decision maker, generally pretty accurate with the football, avoids a lot of negative plays, doesn't take very many sacks, has taken less than 15 on the season. And I think that, you combine that with a really talented receiving core that should probably end up with 2 1,000-yard receivers by the end of Saturday night's game, assuming Jalen Knoll gets 26 receiving yards. And you're looking at one of the more potent passing offenses in the Big 12, and Rocco is obviously kind of the head of that for Iowa State.
You led right into my next question. Jaden Higgins over 1,000 yards. Jalen Knoll, who is a familiar name, of course, is just 24 yards shy of 1,000. This is probably the area I fear the most for K-State because the secondary has been inconsistent. There's a couple of players in that secondary for K-State that just aren't having the seasons that people expected out of them. So how dangerous do you think these two can be for K-State, who right now is probably giving up too many yards after the catch?
Yeah, I think it could be a huge swing in Iowa State's favor, maybe even as big of a swing in Iowa State's favor as K-State's rushing offense against Iowa State's rushing defense could be. And to put it into K-State terms, I guess you could kind of say, yeah, Higgins is more of like the outside threat, someone who's going to get vertical and make plays downfield. He's got 8 touchdown receptions on the year. He's someone who's been a reliable red zone target for Rocco the last 2 years. Noah is more of your slot receiver. He's really consistent about getting open over the middle of the field, but his yak yards this season have always been really impressive to me. He had the 75-yard touchdown reception against Iowa all the way back in week 2. That's his longest catch of the year, but he also had another big catch in that game against the Hawkeyes to help him get in position to kick that field goal as time expired. So those two are 2 of the best receivers in the Big 12. I don't think they get the publication or the commentary that the players at Colorado do on the outside, but Higgins and Knoll are both really, really good, and they complement each other really well, and they do a great job of just getting open and then making plays once the ball is in their hands.
Yeah, like Chris Klieman, I think would agree with you. He said on Monday that he believes that this receiver group for Iowa State is the best in the country. One more thing about the offense. Want to ask about the running attack with Carson, Hansen, Abu Sama. You have Jalen Jackson back there as well. It appears that they've been splitting carries this season. So typically, how does that work? Is there a certain pecking order, or is it just kind of a hot hand thing for Matt Campbell?
Yeah, I would say in the last couple of weeks, Carson Hansen has emerged as their number one back. He's not someone who's super explosive, but he's had a fairly successful season. He's got 11 rushing touchdowns, which is obviously a lot for anyone in the country. Averaging about 5 yards a carry. He's a good between the tackles, running back, someone who runs with good purpose, good authority. Sama and Jackson are more of your like speed shiftier backs. Jackson is more of that than I would say Sama is, which probably comes as a surprise to K-State fans if they haven't watched Iowa State, considering what Sama did last season in Farmageddon. But I would say Sama hasn't really necessarily lived up to the expectations that many fans had for him entering his sophomore season. Just 466 rushing yards on the year, 2 rushing touchdowns, one of which was a big breakaway run against Houston that he kind of had to be pulled from pile from by starting center Gerard Hufford. So all things considered, I think Abu is probably underachieved relative to what the fan base is expecting this year. And Joe Jackson is a good change of pace kid, really shifty, really agile. But he's really kind of fallen off production-wise after having 2 really good games in back-to-back weeks against Houston and Baylor at the beginning of Big 12 play. He had 17 yards, I believe, against Utah, and that was his most yards since Iowa State's second Big 12 game.
Speaking with Alec Busse, he covered the Cats a couple of years ago, but now covering Iowa State for Cyclone Alert 24/7. Let's switch over to the defensive side of the football. You mentioned earlier Iowa State second worst in the Big 12 in rush defense, and that's an area, I mean, Iowa State is typically pretty good, but they're giving up $176 a game, 5.1 yards per carry. Why has this been a struggle for Iowa State this season?
Yeah, I think it's a really good question, Mitch. In all honesty, I think some of it just comes down to personnel. They've been so banged up at linebacker. We know how important that position group is to stopping the run in Iowa State's defensive scheme. Beyond that, the defensive line, I would say, maybe hasn't played nearly as well this season as people thought they would. But that being said, I think that it's a group that just struggles against speedier backs that can get to the edge. And that's one of my big X factors, I would say, this weekend, because DJ Giddens has been so good for K-State this year, rushing for 1,200 yards. Avery Johnson is one of the fastest quarterbacks in the country, and we know how good he is in that read option mesh game. And I'm sure that he's really improved throughout the year. And I know Dylan Edwards kind of got banged up in a game earlier this year. I believe that was the KU game. And I don't know how much he's played since then, but Edwards is known for his speed too. So I think that this is a huge X factor for Iowa State this weekend because they need to stop the run better, especially when you think about what the conditions could be on Saturday night where, the high temperature is below 25 degrees. It's going to be brutally cold. Iowa is typically always really windy, so that's going to make it even harder to throw the ball. So the conditions probably favor K-State at this point if the forecast holds. So Iowa State's run defense is going to have to play one of its better games of the season, and really those issues kind of showed up all the way back in week 1 when they played North Dakota.
Yeah, you brought up the weather. Has precipitation started to sneak its way into the forecast yet?
Yeah, I haven't looked at it super closely, just with it being only Tuesday as we record this. But I don't think it's something that should get too much into the details. Having looked at things, I don't think it's expected right now, at least. So just cold, but, you always got to be prepared for it, especially in late November in the Midwest, right?
Yeah, no kidding. But the thing is, it doesn't matter. Typically, whenever this game is played, the weather is a factor. It's typically colder, way colder than expected. It needs to be. Remember, it was probably 10 years ago, and they had an October game, and it was below freezing. And so it's just typical K-State, Iowa State, Farmageddon weather. One more question about the defense, Alec, and that's going to the pass defense. Saving that for last because this is obviously a huge deal this season for Iowa State. They're third best, and I'm not talking in the Big 12. I'm talking in the country in yards per game allowed. What is typically the strategy of this pass defense, and who back there are the names that we need to mention that are the leaders in that secondary?
Yeah, just a really good older veteran group for the most part in the secondary. I had some concerns personally about corner entering the season after TJ Tampa left for the NFL draft. He was picked by the Baltimore Ravens, I think in the 5th round or the 4th round. But Iowa State actually replaced him really well at corner. Sophomore Jontez Williams has had a really good year. He has 4 interceptions, but I would say that he's Iowa State's second best corner behind Darian Porter, who's a senior. Porter has great size and great speed. He's a legitimate 6'2", 6'3", might run close to a 4.2 or a 4.3 time, maybe a 4.4 time at the NFL Combine if he's able to get an invite there. He's someone who's really impressed me throughout the entire season, Darian Porter. And then the safety position, those are where a lot of names that Iowa State fans have known for a while. When you think about Bill Frailer, he'll enjoy his senior day on Saturday. That's going to be an emotional moment for him. Jeremiah Cooper is the one who plays the free safety spot for Iowa State. He's more of a cover guy, more of that center fielder at free safety. And then Malik Verdon, he'll play at that nickel position. He's probably been one of their 2 or 3 best defensive backs this year. He leads the team in tackles, has been really good in coverage. He has played through a little bit of an injury here in the last few weeks. Has a left forearm injury. He'll likely play with the club on that left arm. And he even got banged up a little bit in the win at Utah, but ended up returning to the game. Looks like he injured his right forearm in the second half, I think it was, against the Utes, but like I said, ended up returning. So those are the lead playmakers in the secondary that you'll kind of expect to see, and they do a really good job, and they always have under John Haycock defensively, especially defending the pass.
So on Monday, I brought this up to the players at the media availability to K-State, and I talked about how Iowa State, even though they're on the outside looking in for a Big 12 championship spot, like K-State is, obviously this game between one another is big if they want to increase their chances. But Iowa State is going for some history, and that is Iowa State has never had a 10-win season in program history. They right now stand at 9, with K-State come to Ames standing in their way of getting that done in the regular season. I'm just wondering, is this being talked about a lot? Has this been a big topic on social media? Is Iowa State fans talking about this? Is Iowa State players, coaches, anybody? Is this a big talking point this week?
I think the players and the coaching staff are all aware of what's in front of them this weekend. I think that's one thing that I really respect about the way they've approached their success this season is remembering some of their shortcomings in the past and where they've fallen short, and remembering their past, I think, and remembering their scars, I think, is kind of the phrase that you hear a lot of the players and coaching staff use in various press settings. They are aware, I think, of what's in front of them. I think they're maybe more focused on having an opportunity to play for a Big 12 title and potentially clinch a spot in the college football playoff if they win there down in Arlington than they are winning 10 games. But I think the fan base really wants the monkey off their back of never winning 10 games. We saw Indiana do it earlier this year. That leaves just Iowa State and Vanderbilt as power conference programs who have never won 10 games in a season. So Iowa State certainly has an opportunity to do that, especially with as many as 3 games left for them, and even more than that if they continue winning. So I think that they have an opportunity to really kind of get to things that they've never accomplished. And that's really what the entire 2024 season has kind of been for Iowa State as a whole.
All right, Alec, to wrap up, I'd like to get your thoughts on Iowa State basketball. Obviously, it's going to be a while until K-State and Iowa State play, but Iowa State, a top 5 team in the country. They're playing in Maui. I know they had a rough game, really second half against Auburn, but with that in consideration, of course, how are the Cyclones looking so far?
Yeah, I mean, the Auburn game was their first real true test of the season. They played 3 cupcake opponents in the first 3 weeks of the season to start the year. High expectations, like you said, for them this year across the board. When you think about returning 2 all Big 12 caliber guards in Taman Lipsey, Keyshawn Gilbert, Curtis Jones returns off of the bench as a quality shooting threat for Iowa State. And then Milan Momcilovic, who is an all Big 12 freshman, he also returns. So they return a lot of production. They're 4 leading scorers from a season ago in the backcourt. They do have to replace their entire front court, and they did that with the transfer portal, adding Deshaun Jackson from Charlotte, adding Brent Chatfield to back up Jackson at the 5. Chatfield was a product from Seattle University, and then I think one of their best additions in the transfer portal was forward Joshua Jefferson from St. Mary's. He's someone who brings them good size at 6'8", 6'9", at that power forward position. Brings them some good skill. He's a good passer, capable rebounder. And he's got an interesting kind of number profile from a shooting perspective. He has some really good moments and some moments where you're still trying to figure out how good he is from that area. But all things considered, its expectations are really high for this Iowa State basketball team, and they should be. Preseason top 5 in the country. You obviously have the opportunity to play and compete for a Big 12 title, and those are your expectations in the preseason. And TJ Otzelberger's done a great job with the program in his first 3 seasons, taking them to 2 Sweet 16s, 3 straight NCAA tournaments, and at the very least, expectations to be a 4th NCAA tournament in his first 4 years.
All right, Alec, to wrap up, I just want you to know this is a safe space to get any of your Thanksgiving hot takes off your chest, anything you don't want to eat at Thanksgiving, maybe something you do like to eat that's not popular. And what are your Thanksgiving plans?
Yeah, love that you ending it this way. Yeah, flying home on Tuesday night to celebrate Thanksgiving with my family on Wednesday. So looking forward to that. My favorite Thanksgiving side is probably sweet potatoes. Don't get to have them too much, especially when you drizzle like the brown sugar and a little bit of marshmallow on top there. I don't know how you'll feel about this take, Mitch, but I'm not a huge Thanksgiving turkey guy. Like, if there's ham and turkey in front of me, I'll probably side with the ham over the turkey. So I'm hoping my mom does the double protein platter for us on Wednesday.
I love the turkey too, but I think you're right. That's the way to go. You need to have a couple of proteins, the turkey, the ham, and you're all set to go. With that, Alec, safe travels back home, and big one against K-State and Iowa State on Saturday. Looking forward to it. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Mitch. Looking forward to it. Always great talking with you, big guy.
Want to thank Alec Busse for his time here on the show. We might have to bring up some Thanksgiving hot takes coming up later in on hour number 2, but we're running out of time here in hour number 1. We need to take a quick break. We'll have Jabroni of the Week after these words.
Can you help me access my work computer now that I'm working from home?
We can do that. Is it possible for you to troubleshoot my computer without me coming into your store? We can do that.
I'm getting messages that my password's been compromised by hackers.
We can.
And that I have malware installed.
We can.
I don't even go to the mall.
We can do all of that.
Fox Business Systems business level support. We can do that.
Call 776-1452 or stop by 531 Fort Riley Boulevard. WeBuildSolutions.com.
Prairie Band Casino is the place to be to play your way. Get in on hot gaming action at our table games and slot machines. Place those bets at the sportsbook. Treat your taste buds to a hand-cut dry-aged steak in the award-winning Three Fire Steakhouse. Plunge into our indoor pool or relax in the hot tubs. Get pampered at our luxurious Cedar and Sage Spa. Discover more ways to play your way. Prairie Band Casino and Resort.
WTC Fiber Internet is coming to all of Manhattan, bringing you blazing fast, reliable internet from your local provider. No contracts, no overage fees, and no installation costs. Whether you're streaming, working from home, gaming, or running a business, enjoy uninterrupted high-speed internet. Reserve your connection today at WTCKS.com. That's WTCKS.com. Fast, local, reliable. WTC Fiber Internet.
American Family Insurance.
As your American Family Insurance agent in Manhattan, I'm looking out for what matters to you. This is Rob Wild, agency owner at Wild & Associates LLC, located at 1601 Points. Call or stop in and let's talk. Whether it's your home, auto, business, farm, or life, see how we can help protect what matters the most to you. Rob Wild, Wild & Associates LLC.
American Family Mutual Insurance Company, SI, and its operating company, 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni! You jabronis hit the jackpot!
That Hollywood blonde jabroni, Hulk Hogan.
Ow! Is this jabroni's name?
Jabroni of the Week.
AJ, what do you think this week? You think the Bears are on it?
No, because they didn't have an embarrassing loss.
Who'd they lose to?
Minnesota.
Oh, that's right. That was just a pull your hair out kind of loss.
Honestly, that was the least angry I was after a loss.
Good for you.
Or depressed.
Good for you.
Caleb Williams played good, so.
All right, 3 dishonorable mentions will culminate with my Jabroni of the Week. My first dishonorable mention, I don't know if I give it to the Big 12 or the refs. I thought there was some pretty cheap stuff going on in the Colorado KU game that was played this past Saturday. I mean, KU, first of all, just dominated for pretty much the whole day.
Yep.
So they're definitely playing their best football right now. But we saw at one point Dean Miller, who's a defensive end for KU, take maybe the ugliest cheap shot I've seen in Big 12 football this year, where Shedeur Sanders let a pass go, and he dove right for Shedeur's knee and took him out. That was a dirty, dirty play. But nothing happened. No flags, nothing. I'm sure refs saw it, but nothing happened. And then after that, there was at a point where Shedeur Sanders punched or pushed the white hat in the back when there was a big scrum. Like, guys were arguing, they were acting like they're going to fight. And then Shedeur's pushing and punching this referee in the back while this is all taking place, and no flags. And I guess the Big 12 was going to review it or whatever, but it turns out Colorado's decided to take this matter into their own hands. Well, I mean, what are they going to do? Make them run a few 40s or something like that? All right, Shedeur, go run 10 hills. And you're good to go.
Run.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, it's nothing's going to happen. All right, now let's get into the meat of this. My second dishonorable mention is going to go to a Cal student. Don't know who this person is, but a video of them went viral this past weekend. Cal with a big win over Stanford in the 127th edition of the Big Game. And Cal won in their home field, and that was a come-from-behind win for Cal. They've won a couple of games in a row. Well, the Cal fans, they stormed the field in Berkeley. And the field was actually a pretty full stadium. And they stormed the field, and that field was covered with people. Well, a fan decided he would very slowly walk up to the Cal bench, gets to the equipment area, and he jacks a helmet. Oh, boy. He starts running off with it. Well, there was an equipment person standing right there, goes from 0 to 60 in about 1.2 seconds, and starts to chase this fan down. Well, there was like somebody else trying to help out with this chase, like a bystander just kind of trying to get this guy down. But here comes the equipment guy, grabs this Cal fan, catches up to him, grabs him, and slams him to the turf. You know, typically when you rush the field and it's in an ill-advised time, security guard will try to be a hero and lay into you, tackle you, spear you, get a reaction from the crowd. Not the equipment guy.
Did the Stanford band go on the field?
Not that I know of.
Get it because of the Cal-Stanford.
What are you talking about?
You don't know the Stanford band story, Cal and Stanford?
No. What
1982?
happened?
I'll explain it because we're kind of running low on time at a later time.
I appreciate that. Can't wait to hear this story.
All right. I'm surprised you don't know that, being the college football historian you are.
I'm joking. The band is out on the field.
Okay.
Of course I know. Who doesn't?
All right. Just wanted to make sure.
I was hoping you would have explained it to me. I would have.
Well, we're running low on time. I didn't want to interrupt your.
My last dishonorable mention, the Washington Commanders. The Cowboys was trying to give it to you. They handed it over on a silver platter next to this turkey and ham and stuffing. The Commanders blew it, though. Down 7 points. Actually, they're down 10. They got a field goal. They got great field position, kicked the field goal, get the ball back. I like the first play. 86-yard touchdown to Terry McLaurin. It's a 1-point game, under a minute to go, 21 seconds. Well, the Commanders ran into some K-State issues, and they had a little bit of a bad snap on the extra point attempt, and the hold gets fumbled, but then gets picked up at the kicker, sends it wide left. He starts crying at the end of the game, and the Commanders were just given a comeback, and they blow it on the extra point.
Serves them right after that fluke Hail Mary they had against a team I won't mention.
Not last year, like 4 weeks ago.
You know what I'm talking about.
I sure do. Nope, not this time. Not against the Cowboys.
And it was Austin Seibert who missed the kick, and he's been one of the best kickers in the game this year.
And now Mike McCarthy might get an extension.
Jerry Jones.
My jabroni of the week, though, will go quickly. It's Rutgers head coach Greg Schiano, because the Illinois Fighting Illini, they were at Rutgers in Piscataway, New Jersey, and 4th and 13. Rutgers is going to be fine with kicking a 40-yard field goal. 14 seconds left. The kick goes wide left, but Greg took a timeout. So instead, Rutgers decides we're going to run a 4th and 13 play.
Oh, boy.
It turns into a catch-and-run touchdown with less than 10 seconds to go, and Illinois steals one on the road. We got hour number 2 coming up. Hey, text the word David to 785-537-1350 if you want to win a 4-pack to a K-State basketball doubleheader coming up on Sunday starting at 1 o'clock. Coleman Hawkins and the Cats' reaction of their third-place finish at the Pardise Jam is next.
What? You want more? You got more. More of the game coming up next on News Radio KMAN, Manhattan.
K-Man Daily Weather is presented by Fox Business Systems. How much does downtime cost you and your business? Don't let another second go by. Call Fox Business Systems at 776-1452.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area forecast. Calling for mostly cloudy skies tonight with a low of 33 and a south wind at around 5 miles per hour. A chance for sprinkles and flurries during the morning to hour. Possible rain then after the morning hours come to a conclusion. But we should just have cloudy skies overall tomorrow with a high of 43 and that chance of rain at 40%. Mostly cloudy skies then tomorrow night, but then gradually becoming mostly clear with a low of 23.
Today has and it already kind of is, but an opportunity to be a crazy day in college basketball because of all this tournament play. UConn is now 0-2 and 0 for 2 in Maui.
Yeah.
They lost to Colorado 73-72. Dan Hurley once again was all after the officials, and I don't know if he called him out again at the post-game press conference like he did in yesterday's loss to Memphis. But he was really upset about something. I was just watching I think they're in between games in Maui. I think they're getting ready for their next game. I'm not sure who it is, but...
Yeah, Memphis I know is one of the teams playing. And I actually liked the polo shirt Jay Billis was wearing. It looked pretty nice.
Creighton losses San Diego State 71-53. Creighton's number 21 in the country. Colorado upsets number 2 UConn. And playing right now is A&M and Oregon. That's a good game. Right now A&M leads by 7. And then later on today, you have Houston and Alabama. That's number 6 versus number 9 in the Players Era Festival Impact Tour tournament in Vegas. Iowa State playing Dayton and Maui. Iowa State coming off a loss to Auburn. KU and Duke play each other today. That's 1 versus 11. They tip off at 8 o'clock on ESPN. That's in Vegas. And then at 10 o'clock on ESPN. Hope you have to go to work tomorrow. Number 4 Auburn, number 12 North Carolina in Maui.
Michigan State, by the way, playing Memphis right now.
That's 3 top 15 matchups today.
Yeah. Pretty good. Pretty good.
And they're decently staggered. Houston and Alabama start at 7, KU Duke at 8, and then 10 o'clock is Auburn and North Carolina.
That was my my championship game pick in one of my brackets a couple years ago, Alabama and Houston. Was not expecting UConn to go very far because my mindset was, oh, yeah, UConn. Who cares? Well, they've turned out to be pretty darn good the last couple of years. But, yeah, they lose both games in Maui, and I did not get a chance to see Danny Hurley's interview. I like him. I know there's a few people that don't like him. I like him a lot.
Well, he's good for college basketball.
Yeah. I like most college coaches, just you're like, I hate them. But I like Danny Hurley. Like him a lot more than his brother, too. But I like Danny Hurley.
Well, he gets very fired up.
Yeah.
During games.
I don't remember who it was who said here that they didn't. I think it might have been you or somebody else. They said they couldn't stand him. I'm like, I like him a lot.
Remember, Frank Martin was that way. He would get really fired up and yell on the court, yell at sideline, yell at referees, whatever, get really fired up. And people around the country kind of like that.
Yeah, I like him.
Now, I know the opinion has shifted on that a little bit. Mm-hmm. But Dan Hurley is one of the few now that actually project themselves that way. Mm-hmm. And people kind of tune in for that, especially with him coaching UConn, and they've won back-to-back national championships. You know, the ratings for college basketball during the regular season aren't even close to what they are for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
But Dan Hurley is somebody that can help with that. It's kind of become must-watch TV when UConn is on, not just because UConn is good, but Dan Hurley, you never know what he's going to do.
A big reason why I respect him is that he stayed at UConn. He could have easily taken the back-to-back championships. He could have gone to L.A., he could have gone somewhere else, but he stayed at UConn. And I respect that because a lot of coaches would have jumped ship. He didn't. He stayed in UConn, and you don't see that a lot in college sports anymore, and I really respect that he did that.
Well, Drum Tang was was it during one of the Hang with Tangs at Like, what's the dream job or whatever? He's like, win a couple of national championships and then go coach the LA Lakers. Like, I think most coaches would be gone and coaching in LA, not worrying about the transfer portal and NIL, and you let other people take care of that stuff.
Well, he's done a fabulous job. He's done a fabulous job, and I have a lot of respect for him.
Text David, 785-537-1350. We'll be drawing a random number. We'll be calling that number during the last break of the show for somebody to win a 4-pack of tickets to the basketball doubleheader. The K-State men and the K-State women play back-to-back this Sunday, starting at 1 o'clock for the men taking on Arkansas Pine Bluff, and then at approximately 3:30, the K-State women will be taking on the Sugar Bears of Central Arkansas in Bramlage Coliseum. One ticket gets you into both games, and I have a 4-pack for you to win. So if you want a chance to win, you just got to submit your number. 785-537-1350 is the number you have to text. Text the word David to secure your spot in the drawing coming up later on in this hour. K-State men finished 2-1 in Pardise. The Pardise Jam, as they finish with wins over George Washington, the third-place game they beat Longwood 80-64 yesterday, and the loss to Liberty was at a final of 67-65. And, man, first of all, I didn't really get to watch much of the George Washington game, so I'm not sure if I can really speak a whole lot on that. I mean, I could give you a couple opinions by just, I guess, looking at the stats. But I want to bring up a name in particular, and I think he needs to be talked about. Because there's actually been national criticism and national write-ups on Coleman Hawkins after the win against Mississippi Valley State. Now, even though Coleman had a nice line outside of the shooting and the points, was criticized a lot. He was booed at Bramlage Coliseum for his performance of finishing with 2 points. He was very poor from the field. He put up some shots that weren't even close to falling. It was an ugly day for Coleman with the actual scoring performance. Well, since then, 3 games at the Pardise Jam, 39 total points, 5 of 7 from 3 against Longwood. The shooting got better through the tournament. 24 rebounds, 10 assists, 10 turnovers, 5 blocks, and 6 steals. And I remember after that Mississippi Valley State game, well, actually, let me go and play the clip from the game last night. After the game, he talked to the broadcasters on ESPN Plus and talked about it was great to play like himself.
I feel like I've been overthinking a lot of things throughout the season so far, and tonight felt like I just played like myself, played like the player I was last year. And, I apologize to our fan base because, I've just been overthinking things and just didn't know what to do on the court. And, I'm starting to figure things out now. And I think the change of scenery helped, too. It's a real beautiful island out here. I think it kind of helped me clear my mind and got to see family. So it was a fun night tonight.
He said after the Mississippi Valley State game, after hearing that, after the Miss Valley game, he brought up that it was kind of a start like he had last year. It was really slow. The first 4 or 5 games was really slow for Coleman, and then after that, he took off, and he was averaging 15 points a game. He was shooting over 40% from 3, and by the way, he was still rebounding. He was still stealing the basketball. He was still, providing assists. He was still doing it all, and the scoring got better. Now, even though he was not getting enough credit for what he was doing outside of just scoring the basketball, look, if you're somebody that's going to be paid, allegedly, $2 million, and that got out there, and it made national news, like that set another bar. Like, he was the bar at that time of high-end NIL for college basketball players. You got to come in and score the basketball.
Yes.
He was 12 points a game at Illinois. I think if Coleman can score in the teens and average in the teens, the rest of the way, or at least double figures at least, that it's going to be a lot better for this team. Of course, you need him to score because he's arguably your best athlete that you have out there. I'm glad he took a big step in the right direction. That's really big. Now, in neither game did I think K-State was still close to playing to their potential. They still got a lot of growing to do. They still lost the game, and they lost the game to Liberty. And I hear everybody talking about, they should be considered a quality opponent. Remind me a month from now. We'll see where they are quality opponent-wise. But, heading into that tournament, you expected K-State to win all 3 games, but they didn't. I thought that Liberty game kind of bothered me.
Yeah, it did too.
A bit, because K-State had their opportunities to go win that game, and they didn't. I thought K-State was catching some breaks. Liberty was missing some layups. But, man, turnovers were a big issue. And they're not the biggest issue like they were last year. That was a huge issue last year. Way too many turnovers. But K-State was pretty turnover happy in that first half. I think they had 10, and 7 of the 10 were from Coleman Hawkins and Doug McDaniel. I do like what Doug has been doing lately, though. He's been slashing. He's been really quick with the basketball. But where I do have my concerns, and I just want to talk as not going game by game or anything, I have a general thought about where K-State is as a team right now after finishing in 3rd place. I think the offense is getting better. It was also great to see that Brennan Hausen was starting to hit some shots. He had a bit of a bumpy start to that Liberty game. He finally hit some shots in the second half. If it wasn't for him, I don't think K-State would have been within a score in the final possession to try to go win that game. Just missed some shots down the stretch, and Doug McDaniel missed it. And you hope next time when he's in that spot, he'll make that shot when it's wide open from one of his comfort zones. Let's put it that way. I really worry about K-State's defense. I'm seeing some similarities to last year. And maybe for me this year, it's maybe a tad bit worse. When it comes to on-ball defense and even off-ball defense, the backdoor cuts, K-State is falling behind on that. I don't know if a lot of people will understand this analogy, but to me, and I don't even think maybe it's not the best analogy at all, but it reminds me of, like, you ever play Call of Duty on PlayStation or Xbox or whatever?
I haven't played it in a while, but yeah.
But if you have slow internet.
Oh, yeah, the lag.
There's lag.
The worst part of Call of Duty is the lag.
And you're behind. It's like they're always getting the shot before you are.
Yeah.
And you just can't seem to get ahead of the game. And you're not getting the kills, and you're getting frustrated. To me, that's K-State on defense, trying to guard. And they're having to overcompensate with the help defense, and it's leaving shooters wide open.
Call of Duty, any game that has like 2K, if you're playing out online, 15 years and Treyarch still hasn't figured it out. Sorry, I've had a lot of those moments where I got mad at them.
I got an upgrade on my internet. Let's just say my KD's looking pretty good right now. Now that I don't have that lag anymore, because you're always a step behind. And K-State defensively, when they're spread out, too many times have they been caught on blow-bys and they're falling behind on defense. And I think, Brennan Hausen has been a victim of that quite a few times. CJ Jones, Mac Jones. I mean, I'm not sure if K-State truly has a solid defender on this team. But I will say, I thought Coleman Hawkins was a dude for the most part through this tournament on defense. He was easily K-State's best player on defense, and I was very happy about how well he played against Michael Christmas. Because Michael Christmas was averaging, I think, 13 points a game heading into that game. In 27 minutes, 0 of 8 from the floor, 0 of 5 from 3, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 steal, and a block. Coleman was on him for most of the night.
Yeah.
And shut him down. And he was shutting, like his assignment, those guys that were up against Coleman did not play very well. And Coleman's hands were very active. I thought he stripped the ball quite a few times, especially in the Longwood game. He should have had more than 2 steals in that game. Unfortunately, when the strip goes out of bounds or whatever, where he knocks it away and it goes out of bounds and maybe off their leg, that doesn't go down as a steal, and it should go down as a steal. Coleman probably would have had 4 or 5 of those in the game, and that would have made his line look even much better. But this team, I think, has more ways to go on defense, maybe arguably more than the offense. But I still think just the motion of the offense, them working as a team, has a lot of growth to build, because the assist-to-turnover ratio was super ugly in this tournament, and they're just not running a whole lot of offense. It's past this guy. What can he do one-on-one against his defender?
Coleman made the comment playing out in the Cayman Islands. Hold on a second. Yeah. Blink there for a minute.
Oh, you mean the U.S. Virgin Islands?
Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
Why am I saying the Cayman Islands?
Cayman was last year. Yeah.
That's what I got confused. My apologies. The Virgin Islands, he said playing out there, it was kind of nice to be in that spot. It's easy to play in a neutral setting where you don't have the pressure of playing in front of the home crowd, where there's a lot of expectations for Coleman from this fan base. It's also easier to play in a neutral area where you're not playing in front of road fans who despise you and want you to have a terrible game. I think going on the road to the Virgin Islands helped him a little bit because he mentioned a lot of things were getting in his head. Being in that spot where you don't have a lot of pressure on you, it's easy to kind of open up your mind and play good basketball. I'm happy that he's played better. I hope he can continue to have that clear mindset as we get in to the conference schedule later in December, because we're going to need him in some big games down the stretch this year. He's going to have to go out there and continue to show that he's worth the allegedly $2 million in NIL money he's been given. It's a lot of money for a kid his age. I mean, yeah, he definitely showed good improvement, and you hope that that continues, but I really hope he starts to kind of keep his mind open and just focus on playing the game instead of the pressure that's been delivered on him. It's hard to ignore it, but I hope he can do it.
Well, he was really good against Longwood, but
yes.
I hear you because, believe it or not, there's 4 games left in this non-conference.
Yep.
And then Big 12's play starts on December 30th, so we're a little over a month away from Big 12 play starting, and there's 4 games left. And, if you want to throw quality opponent out there against Liberty and Longwood, sure. That takes the next step. Once you pass Arkansas Pine Bluff, and by God, do you want to make a statement in that game?
Oh, boy, yeah.
Once you get back into Bramlage, you're going to St. John's. That's been a top 25 team. Drake is a quality opponent. And going to Wichita State and playing in Koch Arena, that's a team that's off to a hot start.
It's going to be loud.
So you're going to a hostile environment that's going to draw a good crowd. I'm sure there's going to be a pretty decent amount of K-State fans there as well. That's one of the biggest home games that Wichita State's had in a long time.
Can we talk Doug McDaniel really quickly?
Yeah, sure.
I like the way he's played when he's been out on the court. I wish he could be on the court more. I think he is a really good force of energy for the team when he's on the court. That's just my personal opinion. Would you agree?
Well, I'm curious to know. Yes, I mean I've seen some great things from him, and he's not the cleanest basketball player. He had some ugly turnovers.
He does
in the tournament, but right now he's averaging 10 points off the bench, 5 assists, shooting 41%. His 3-point shooting isn't where it should be yet.
No, it's very raw
because he could be very lethal from 3.
Mm-hmm.
He's only had 1 game so far this year where he's hit more than 1. And 5 of his 6 games, if you take away the LSU game where he made a couple of shots, that was his best game this year. And you take away the LSU game, 2 of 14 from 3 in the other 5 games. Not averaging close to 10 points, I don't think. Maybe around 7 points a game. I think Doug has a little bit ways to go as well. I think he needs more. He needs the buy-in more to the system. But the ball handling and getting to the hoop, he can be pretty impressive.
Yeah.
He does have an inside game.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just the 3-point shooting. Like I think he showed it against Longwood that he does have a mid-range game. I mean, from 2, I think he was 4 of 5.
Yeah.
And also Brendan Hausen showed that actually as well in the Longwood game. He was knocking down some mid-range shots.
Yeah.
But K-State needs offensively. They need to do a better job of getting guys open, and got to do a better job of taking on defenders one-on-one. Because right now nobody's really been quick enough, other than maybe Doug McDaniel, sometimes C.J. Jones, to get to the hoop and beat a defender to a good spot that'll draw in other guys. And then you got the kick out.
Doug definitely has to get more discipline. That's a big thing with him. Not just on the court, but off the court. Discipline is key with him. If he can get that discipline, he's going to be a hell of a player. Because the talent's there. And you mentioned, I mean, he can get to the basket if he has to. He could shoot the mid-range jumper if he's got to. He improves his 3-point shooting, and he gets more discipline. He's going to be a great player. I'm telling you. I was excited when they got him in the transfer portal because I had watched a little bit of him at Michigan. I had talked to some friends that really follow Michigan basketball. And I said, boy, if you can harness this kid's talent, he's going to be great. And you can see little sparks of it, but he's got to stay disciplined. That's the biggest thing that I want to keep emphasizing with him.
I am very cautiously optimistic right now.
Good.
I'm typically super optimistic. Like I'm like, oh well, they got the win. Let's bounce off of that win. Let's get some momentum going. We've now seen them play 6 games or 7. Yeah. I think it's 7 now. They're 5-2. I've seen enough consistent ugliness in some areas that I'm now cautiously optimistic, and it's because of last year, and I'm seeing too many similarities compared to last year. That right now I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm waiting for this team to kind of prove me wrong on why I'm cautious right now. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we're cramming a lot in one show. Why are you laughing?
I don't know.
I thought you were laughing at me.
I think the way you said cramming got me a little bit. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So, coming up next, we're going to make 6 picks. We had it recorded earlier today because, if you haven't heard, Troy got a little promotion here at the radio station. He's now the program director, so he's not a full-time host anymore. But we still have a competition to finish, and that's Mitch in Vegas. So we had to record it earlier today. 6 picks, Vegas line, at Mitch the 4 on Twitter. These games will be put up on Thursday. Mitch in Vegas, our picks coming up next.
Miss part of the show?
No! God, please, no! No! No!
Really? Check it out on demand at 1350kman.com. You're listening to The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Pardise. As a rideshare driver, I love keeping my car smelling fresh and clean. So when I'm driving, I only trust Pardise car vent clips, featuring 3 distinct intensity settings, because it's that little touch that sets me apart. I can turn the intensity down for subtle freshness, or I can turn it up for when I want lots of scent. So whether it's set to low, medium, or high, with Pardise car, I know my car's going to smell amazing. Which keeps my driver rating right where it belongs. Picking up Oscar!
Our daughter Jessie loves playing detective.
A clue.
But since we discovered she has sensitive skin, we've been playing detective too.
We thought the problem was our puppy.
But it was actually our old detergent.
Aha.
So we switched to Tide Free and Gentle. Tide cleans better than the leading competitive free detergent, and it doesn't leave behind irritating residues.
Plus, Tide Free and Gentle has no dyes or perfumes, so it's gentle on her skin.
Case closed.
If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Free and Gentle.
When your car is making a strange noise, no matter what it is, you can't just pretend it's not happening.
That's an interesting sound.
It's like your mental health. If you're struggling and feeling overwhelmed, it's important to do something about it. It can be as simple as talking to someone in your community, or just taking a deep, calming breath when you need it. Nice. For mental health resources, check out loveyourmindtoday.org. At loveyourmindtoday.org, you'll find information that may help you get through a tough time. Things like tips for dealing with stress, how to navigate difficulties like financial worries, anger, substance use, and more. You can also find real stories of how people navigated their own mental health challenges. Because once you start to address the problem, you can go so much further. Visit loveyourmindtoday.org. That's loveyourmindtoday.org. Brought to you by the Huntsman Mental Health Institute and the Ad Council.
This is Dalton Melican with the Manhattan Fire Department for some home fire escape tips. When making a home escape plan, draw a map of each level of the house. Show all doors and windows, go to each room, and point 2 ways out. Practice the plan with everyone in your household, including visitors. Teach your children how to escape on their own in case you cannot help them. Make sure they can open windows, remove screen, and unlock doors. A closed door may slow the spread of smoke, heat, and fire. Install smoke alarms in every sleeping room outside each separate sleeping area. Have an outside meeting place, something permanent, like a tree, light pole, or mailbox, a safe distance in front of your home where firefighters will easily find you. Make sure your house number can be seen easily from the street both night and day. If there's a fire in your house, when the smoke alarm sounds, get out and stay out. Go to the outside meeting place, call 911 or the fire department. If there is smoke blocking the door or the first way out, use your second way out. Smoke is poisonous. If you must escape through the smoke, get low and go under the smoke to your way out. For more fire safety tips, visit us on Facebook at Manhattan Fire Department.
Brought to you by the Manhattan Fire Department and Manhattan Broadcasting Company.
Parents, we know we can't protect our kids from everything. Eventually, they're going to bump their heads or scrape their knees. but we can protect them from 6 types of cancer. HPV, or human papillomavirus, is a common preventable virus that can cause cancer later in life. The HPV vaccine prevents human papillomavirus and all the cancers it can cause. The American Cancer Society recommends getting your sons and daughters the HPV vaccine starting at age 9 to protect them later in life.
From opening night to Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, don't miss a second of the NFL this season. Hi, this is Kurt Warner of Westwood One. Join our crew each week for the best in primetime NFL action. Monday night, Sunday night, and Thursday night football, plus marquee games on Thanksgiving, Black Friday, Christmas, and more. Westwood One is the exclusive radio home for every primetime and postseason game. It's right here.
1350 AM, 93.3 and 93.7 FM. This is News Radio KMAN.
I'm AJ Shaw with a sports update for News Radio KMAN as the game continues. Ashland Jackson scored a career-high 30, and number 13 Duke defeated number 9 K-State 73-62 in the semifinals of the Bulldogs Classic. Jackson, who has reached double figures in all 6 of Duke's games, shot 12 of 19 from the field, including 6 of 9 from three-point range.
Guards did not handle their physicality and the pressure that they gave us in the half-court defense. I was concerned about that coming in because we haven't faced a team like that. And and even though we have practiced it and we have our male practice squad guys that go through that, it is different when the lights are on and a really talented team does that.
Jeff Mitty, after his team was led by senior center Aoka Lee with 16 points. The loss puts K-State into a 1 o'clock game tomorrow afternoon here on News Radio KMAN and our sister station, Sunny 102.5. As for the men, Coleman Hawkins led the way with 19 points and 10 boards as K-State picked up an 80-64 victory over Longwood in the third-place game of the Paradise Jam. He went 7 for 10 from the field with 5 3-pointers as the Cats moved to 5-2 on the season. In volleyball, K-State graduate outside hitter Aaliyah Carter was named the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week for the 7th time in her career and the 3rd time this season. She had a match-high 24 kills against in-state rival KU. Now back to the game on News Radio KMAN.
Mitch in Vegas on a Tuesday, and yes, if you haven't heard, Troy no longer a full-time host here on the show, new PD here at K-Man, but we got a competition to finish. Even though there may be somebody way out in the lead, we got to finish this thing, and this person needs to win it fair and square. Welcome to Mitch in Vegas, week number 14. We make 6 picks by the Vegas line. And, still in first place after another nice week 13. AJ goes 4-2. The people had the big week at 5-1. Troy and myself 3-3, a push, still not bad. Everybody had decent weeks.
We get into a bowl game.
But you know what? The people have now taken second place.
Yeah, what the heck?
The people are 43-43. Myself and Troy are 41-45. AJ in first by 10 games, 53-33. But listen, with this week, next week with Army-Navy, you also have conference championship games. You also have bowl games. There's a lot of time for us to catch up, but AJ's still going first. The people, if you want to vote, at Mitch the Fort on Twitter, I will put these up on Thanksgiving. But we'll start, as we always do, with the Cats in action at Iowa State. Farmageddon. It is the 104th meeting all-time between the Cats and Iowa State. Now, these two teams are on the outside looking in still of the Big 12 championship game. They need some help, but, even though they're playing late, you still need to win your game, right? So, AJ, Iowa State favored by 3 at Jack Trice Stadium. It's going to be cold.
It's going to be a cold one. I don't know about snow, but it's going to be quite the ball game there. I remember last year sitting in the airport coming back from Chicago watching that game and just losing my mind. But I'm going to have to go with Iowa State in this one. They have the home field advantage. They're in a big game again, trying to get into Big 12 title contention. K-State's had their problems there historically at Jack Trice Stadium. I'm going to go with the Cyclones.
I'm on the Cyclones more for the fact that K-State has not done well against the spread this season.
That's true.
Let's go technical on this. The Wildcats have not won a game against the spread this year.
Well, they did last week.
Other than for the first time all year. But in general, no, it's been a bad run for the Wildcats, and I think Iowa State's probably going to have enough juice to pull off a cold victory in Ames.
Yeah, deep down, Cincinnati's probably a pretty crappy team.
Yeah.
It seems like whenever these two teams play, doesn't matter when it is, other than maybe, back in 2014 when they played in week 2, that was a super hot day. The weather is always some sort of an extreme. Remember, 6 or 7 years ago, they played in like early October, and it was freezing cold outside in Manhattan. They always have bad weather for these games.
First experience of an Iowa State K-State game, ice storm.
Oh, boy.
Both bands in place, neither marched because, you weren't getting certain instruments even warmed up to be able to march.
Was that the streaker game?
No, this was here. This was before turf version number 2 even took place.
Okay.
Ancient stadium discussion at that point. That's the first experience I had with a K-State Iowa State game. 3 trips to Ames, every one of them has been cold. Yes, the streaker game was one of them. There was another, and a friend of mine commented on this the other day, the fact that we stood on snow the entire game in the stands as a marching band. That wasn't real fun. And so you're right. Ireland is going to seem like a vacation next fall.
It's going to be pouring rain.
Yeah, pretty much.
When they meet up in week 0 for the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. By the way, tickets go on sale in February for that. For those not knowing when that does take place, I looked it up earlier this week. They go on sale in February.
How fitting it's February when the tickets go on sale. With the bad weather.
Right. Yeah.
It's February, typically a bad weather.
So we all start thinking, towards good weather in the fall. Mm-hmm. Only to realize, it's Ireland and it's K-State, Iowa State.
There's plenty of factors for this game. I look at it this way, and this is to me the biggest factor, and that is Iowa State's, passing offense against K-State's secondary, who have struggled this year. Really, they've been a disappointment in some ways, inconsistent for some. But you can still, of course, rely on like a Jacob Parrish, VJ Payne. They've been great this season. Marquise Siegel has a bunch of interceptions. But elsewhere, they've had to play some younger guys, like Jordan Riley hardly playing anymore. You're seeing less and less Keenan Garber on the field for K-State. Meanwhile, they have Jalen Knoll and Jaden Higgins, who are either over 1,000 yards or 24 yards away from 1,000 yards this year as a duo. Both over 1,000 yards on the year. So that's going to be dangerous for K-State to stop that. I hope they don't get fooled on a lot of crossing routes and give up the yards after catch. I think K-State should be able to run the football against Iowa State. The Cyclones have really struggled against the run this year. They are dead last in the Big 12 in stopping the run. So I could see this going back and forth in either way, but since AJ's taking the cover for Iowa State at home, you're giving me 3 points at Jack Trice Stadium, which I think could be a crazy game. Give me K-State. Game 2, we go to Boulder, Colorado. This is obviously a pivotal one as well for the Buffaloes. Oklahoma State, their last conference season without a win, 1994. Right now, Colorado. A win gives Colorado a 58% shot of getting into the Big 12 championship game. AJ, Colorado on Friday morning, favored by 17 points.
Yeah, that's going to be possibly Mike Gundy's last game, depending on how Oklahoma State wants to handle it. My assumption is probably not. They're probably bringing him back, but who knows? Colorado had the tough loss against KU at Arrowhead, but they're going to bounce back and win on Friday over Oklahoma State.
Colorado at home in a game, and Oklahoma State just seems to be playing out the string. I think the Buffs rule.
Yeah, this was I want to kind of sneak in there with Oklahoma State, not to win, of course, but you're giving me 17 points.
Right, yeah.
That it is a little bit tempting. So, because I need to catch up a little bit, again, there's not a whole lot of logic behind this, but I think I need to go with Oklahoma State. Again, they're not going to win. I think Colorado's going to make K-State's chances a lot tougher of getting into the Big 12 championship game with a win against the Pokes. Mike Gundy, I agree. I don't think he's going anywhere, at least this year. Even though this year has been a disaster, he is a legacy. And this is the first bad year in a stretch of season. So it just hasn't been like this bad in decades, like I mentioned earlier. It's been 30 years, as a matter of fact. It's been this bad. All right, now we get into non-Big 12 games with game number 3, the big game. Michigan at Ohio State at 11 a.m. on Saturday. Ohio State makes the Big Ten championship with a win. Michigan has not been what they were last year, not even close. Ohio State, AJ, favored by 21 at home.
Yeah, that's not a line we've seen in a while in the game. Will Howard playing like a Heisman candidate. Michigan just not been a great title defense year. Understandable. They lost a lot of talent. I'm going to take Ohio State to win big at home over the Wolverines.
By the way, speaking of Will Howard, did you see the footage of him having fun?
Yes, I
did. Joking on Indiana's coach.
Yes, I did.
That was beautiful. The game is not going to be much of one this year. That's Ohio State.
Once again, I'm going with the dog in this one. It is, I question, is Will Howard under the most pressure, not against Indiana, not against Penn State, but even though Michigan isn't great this year, it being this rivalry game, and it's the most heated rivalry you can argue in college football. Is Will Howard under the most pressure here? I got eaten up alive by Ohio State picking Indiana in that one. So maybe the third time is the charm, picking against Ohio State. Again, I think the Buckeyes win, but with a big line in a rivalry game, I know it's at the Horseshoe. I'm going to go Michigan. All right, game 4. Not really a pivotal game for either team when it comes to conference races because this is actually a non-conference game. But number 18, as it stands now, South Carolina is at top 20 Clemson team, with Clemson favored by 2.5 points. What Clemson needs, however, is Miami to lose to Syracuse because that game there is going to determine who plays SMU in the ACC championship game. Again, AJ, Tigers at home favored by 2.5.
It's going to be a very interesting ball game. And you mentioned Ohio State really quickly. That's a big game for Ryan Day, too, because a lot of people have been getting on him for not being Michigan recently. It's going to be a very interesting game. I got a friend, as I've mentioned, who's the punter for South Carolina that I drained a 3 in his face in an intramural 8th grade basketball game. I like to mention that every time I see him. I'm going to take Clemson in this one. I think they're going to cover.
Clemson at home. And there's all kinds of hate between the two schools. The history is amazing, by the way. If you go back and you look at the school's history as to even why Clemson was created, mainly because what those pesky kids were learning at the University of South Carolina, and the farmers didn't like it because they were losing their kids to the city in the 1800s. Sound familiar? No, I think Clemson wins this one going away. Beamer has his team playing okay, but I think Clemson has been able to ramp it up and play much better here down the stretch.
I mean, South Carolina has been super close to being a college football playoff team. They're on the outside looking in just like Clemson. So both of these teams, they need a big win, I guess, but they're not going to get there, I would imagine, to the CFP. But South Carolina, I've seen a couple of projections that K-State and South Carolina may meet up somewhere. There's tens, hundreds of projections, it feels like, out there for K-State's bowl game, but South Carolina is a team I do not want to see because they can be very electric in the passing game. Yeah. So I'm going to go South Carolina pulling off the win on the road at Clemson. I'm taking money line South Carolina. All right, our last non-Big 12 game is a rivalry renewed for the first time since 2011. Texas at Texas A&M. Talk about another rivalry that just absolutely hates each other, but they haven't played in over a decade. Texas at Texas A&M. That's at Kyle Field. Winner, from what I understand, will play in the SEC title game against Georgia. AJ, Texas on the road favored by 6.
Yeah, I want to see Texas lose because that would be hilarious. I'm going to go Texas A&M plus 6.
I think A&M is going to have the juice to be able to pull this out, and for good measure, we'll put it behind Colin Klein as the OC. Closes out the regular season with a big victory behind his team.
How about this? UMass has played more ranked SEC teams this season than Texas. This is Texas's...
Oh, that's great.
You could say, actually, I would argue, this is Texas's biggest challenge this season.
You're not wrong.
By going on the road to play a top 15 team in Texas A&M. Because of that, give me the Aggies to get it done at home. And then the final game, Houston at BYU. This is another one of those pivotal games for the Big 12 race. Obviously, Houston wins, and that's just more of a chance of 8 teams in the Big 12 finishing 6-3, and that gets K-State and Baylor into the Big 12 championship game. But BYU has a 38% chance right now of getting into the Big 12 title game, and BYU is at home. This is Big 12 After Dark at Lavelle Edwards Stadium, and BYU favored by 13.5.
Yeah, I know Houston beat K-State, but I can't see them going in to Lavelle Edwards Stadium and upsetting the Cougars under the lights. Yeah, I'm going to have to take BYU in this one. Would love to see them lose, but just can't see Houston winning this game.
Though they did make a change at offensive coordinator going into this. Yeah, it's not going to matter much. That's a BYU win.
Yeah, I'm just going to go BYU as well.
It's simple.
All right, that's going to wrap it up for Mitch in Vegas. Again, the people's picks. I will put them on Twitter at Mitch the Fort on Thanksgiving. That's when you can start to vote. And, of course, there's a Friday game in there, so make sure you get your votes in. That's between Oklahoma State and Colorado. More of the game coming up next on News Radio KMAN.
Your home for K-State sports. From a sold-out Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City on a clear, cold night, welcome to the Dr. Pepper Big 12 Championship. One of the hottest teams in college football, Kansas State, takes on everybody's number one, the Oklahoma Sooners. This is The Game on News Radio KMAN.
Carpet One's new room-by-room displays make it simpler than ever to discover the ideal flooring for your home. Choose from our carefully selected range of flooring options categorized by color, design, and lifestyle. Our team of local experts will collaborate with you to bring your vision to life, providing insights and user-friendly tools to help you select the perfect floor for your remodeling and new build home needs. Come visit us for your next home project at 501 Fort Riley Boulevard in Manhattan, Kansas.
Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Center offers innovative, cutting-edge physical therapy, from blood flow restriction rehabilitation, dry needling, DARI-A biochemical movement analysis, fall prevention, and return to sport. OSMC Physical Therapy has over 75 years of combined treatment experience and deliver a successful and positive outcome while making the rehabilitation process pleasant and enjoyable. At Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Physical Therapy, no referrals are needed to schedule your therapy appointment. For more information, visit us at kansasortho.com.
Your News Radio KMAN Manhattan area forecast. Calling for mostly cloudy skies tonight with a low of 33 and a south wind at around 5 miles per hour. A chance for sprinkles and flurries during the morning to hour. Possible rain then after the morning hours come to a conclusion. But we should just have cloudy skies overall tomorrow with a high of 43 and that chance of rain at 40%. Mostly cloudy skies then tomorrow night, but then gradually becoming mostly clear with a low of 23.
All right, so we just took our last break, and I'd advertised earlier our last break would be the time we pick a winner for 4 tickets to the doubleheader of basketball in Bramlage this Sunday starting at 1 o'clock, and congratulations to Kevin from Manhattan. Kevin wins the 4 tickets, and 1 ticket gets you into both games. The men play Arkansas Pine Bluff at 1 o'clock, and then K-State women at 3:30 take on the Sugar Bears of Central Arkansas. All right, I want to touch on the K-State women here for just a moment before we wrap it up with Ask Us Anything, and we close out the show here for, we got about 8 minutes left or so. Yesterday, the K-State women losing to Duke, final score is 73-62. K-State raced out to an 11-0 lead. After that was, in a very disappointing way, completely outplayed by Duke. Let's not sugarcoat it. It was pretty bad. Duke was clearly the better team. Now, of course, they did have a player that just went off yesterday. Ashlyn Jackson was 6 of 9 from 3. She finished with 30 points. K-State got a little ugly there with the turnovers at times. They had 18 in the game. They went on to shoot for the game, 46%, but No threes were they were just 2 of 10 from 3, so they were under their average of shooting 3-pointers. Guard play was really rough. Especially, I thought, not just shooting the ball into the turnovers, but even on defense. K-State struggled to get through ball screens. They were going underneath the screen every time, and that screener was easily getting that K-State defender out of position and getting a lot of open looks. They did a poor job covering their best players. And I hate to hark on this much, but I'm gonna be rough on this team because they have very high expectations, and they did not look like a top 10 team yesterday. Weren't even close to looking like a top 10 team yesterday. Now, of a number of factors that obviously K-State needs to get better, Zy Walker facing some tougher competition as a point guard, had a reality check there, finished with just 1 point, was 0-4 from the floor. She obviously, with this tougher schedule coming up, needs to get better. If we're going to be hard on Coleman Hawkins, we need to be hard on Tamara Poindexter. Tamara needs to step up. The last 3 games, 4 points, 8 points, 5 points, and she comes in as this hell of a 3-point shooter, but in the last 3 games, she's 1 of 13 from 3. She's not shooting the ball very well lately, not getting to the free throw line, only shot the ball 7 times against Duke, was 2 of 7, and she finished with 4 points in that game. Look, she was brought in to be a baller, to be a scorer, and scoring 4 points against the number 13 team in the nation is not going to cut it. So Tamira needs to step up. She needs to contribute more in scoring. They did try to force feed Ayoka Lee a lot, and I think some bad habits kind of came into play as well. So I don't really have a whole lot of positives that come out of that. K-State finally plays a ranked opponent, other than, of course, Creighton, and they were at home, but going away from home and playing a tough team, K-State did not live up to the hype. And unfortunately, it kind of feels like for fans, that's already, for whatever reason, tough for them to buy into this team or want to go watch a female team to go play sports. Already a major setback, and unfortunately, that's not going to sell tickets like you want it to. But I will say, this does not change how I feel like this team is going to perform later on down the road. Just as long as they stay healthy, they continue to get better, not just as a team, but as an individual. The defense was not on par yesterday. So maybe this was just a much-needed reality check and an early one. They're going to have a tough Big 12 schedule coming up. I think it's one of the tougher ones in the conference that K-State's going to have to face. They should take care of business against DePaul tomorrow afternoon, and there's no doubt about that. They need to take care of business tomorrow against DePaul.
I made a faux pas earlier. They're not out of Evanston. That's Northwestern. DePaul's out of Lincoln Park, which is in Chicago, but in the Chicago area. So Lincoln Park is where DePaul's out of.
DePaul's not a good team.
Yeah.
They lost to Oklahoma yesterday, 85-62. They were beaten by 30 points by Texas. Their 2 wins against Loyola Chicago and Mercyhurst.
Yeah. I'm not too worried about this women team. I think it's 1 game. They're going to be fine. Duke's a very good team. They're top 15 in the country. It's just one of those days. I think they're going to be fine. Again, they should beat DePaul. It should be a pretty easy victory. But things are not going to get much easier once you get into conference play. But it's 1 game. It's good to get that first loss out of the way. Now you're not worrying about, how long can we stay unbeaten for. You can just keep your focus on the next game. So it's 1 game. Push it aside, move on to the next one.
They just struggled with the ball pressure.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like it was the most in the world. A little bit of ball pressure, and the ball movement stops. And they're a little bit skittish to throw the basketball, and then they just start standing there. Let's get out of these bad habits, guys. Don't fall into those old bad habits. That's going to really hurt your chances to go win basketball games. All right. We got just a few minutes left. Ask Us Anything's going to wrap it up. This is our only show of the week. So these got to be good questions. So here we go. AJ, go ahead.
It's a very simple one today.
Okay.
Are you a brown gravy or a white gravy guy?
Brown. Easy answer. Unless, just particular things like biscuits and gravy, obviously looking for the sausage gravy, the white gravy. But if you're talking about mashed potatoes, if you're looking to just put a gravy all over your spread, and get real crazy, I'm going brown. I think I'm a brown gravy guy. Yes, especially for Thanksgiving.
I'm honestly I don't really care. I just like gravy. It's basically salt, and I like salty stuff. I love it. I'll eat any gravy, and I'll pour that on the food. Get the corn into the mashed potatoes and the gravy.
Do you ever, I'm guessing, you have rolls?
Oh, yeah, because we're a bread family.
So do you ever take a roll and, put some turkey and then put some mashed potatoes and make a sandwich out of it?
Sometimes. What I'll do sometimes, put a little butter on the roll, smash that thing down in the gravy, eat that. Oh, God.
No.
I'm getting excited now.
I pass on the butter part. I'm like, that's you're not living up to your potential on what you can do with that dinner roll.
I understand.
You take it, you open it up open mouth, you take it, you chomp down on the mashed potatoes, and then you take the roll, then you get some turkey, you make a sandwich out of it. Now, I only go typically one roll. I don't want to load up on all the starch. Save some room for the other good stuff.
See, I get the butter and the gravy and the roll. To me, it's delicious. For me, it's delicious because it's butter, which I love, bread, which I love, gravy, which I love. The reason why my family likes Thanksgiving is it's just starchy food. And my mom always makes a comment, the Shaws are too much into starchy food. Well, that's why we love Thanksgiving. We love starch.
So what's the one signature item you're always looking forward to?
Ooh, that's a good question.
My dad has started... So, people I don't like turkey. It's always dry. Well, you're not making it right. Either the deep fat fry. My dad has started smoking the turkey. So good. So good.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not really a signature dish we ever have. It's basically the basic stuff. If there is a signature dish, I probably don't eat it because I'm pretty picky.
Oh, picky eater. You don't like green bean casserole, yams, things like you don't touch?
Nope.
I miss my grandma's mac and cheese.
It's good food.
It's the one thing we're missing since she passed away. Well, everybody, have a happy Thanksgiving. Join us on Friday for the state championship game, Manhattan against Gardner-Edgerton. 1:30 pregame, kicking off at 2 from Emporia this Friday. Go Cats. K-State wraps up the regular season with Farmageddon this Saturday in Ames, Iowa to take on the Iowa State Cyclones. Kickoff is set for 6:30 p.m. That means PowerCat Game Day, the biggest pregame show in the Big 12, will begin at 2:30. PowerCat Game Day is brought to you by Prairie Land Partners, Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Center, Culver's, and the McCain Performance Series. Listen to PowerCat Game Day on 101.5 K-Rock, News Radio KMAN, and online at PowerCatGameDay.com.
At Meadowlark, every day is game day. Our team is recruiting nurses and certified nurse assistants for full-time and part-time positions in long-term and post-acute care. This game-winning environment is perfect for passionate and dedicated all-star caregivers. Join the Meadowlark team today and take advantage of increased differentials for night and weekend shifts. To learn more, call 785-323-3898 or search online for Meadowlark Careers in Manhattan, Kansas. MVPs work at Meadowlark.
This is Dalton Melican with the Manhattan Fire Department for some home fire escape tips. When making a home escape plan, draw a map of each level of the house. Show all doors and windows, go to each room, and point 2 ways out. Practice the plan with everyone in your household, including visitors. Teach your children how to escape on their own in case you cannot help them. Make sure they can open windows, remove screen, and unlock doors. A closed door may slow the spread of smoke, heat, and fire. Install smoke alarms in every sleeping room outside each separate sleeping area. Have an outside meeting place, something permanent, like a tree, light pole, or mailbox, a safe distance in front of your home where firefighters will easily find you. Make sure your house number can be seen easily from the street both night and day. If there's a fire in your house, when the smoke alarm sounds, get out and stay out. Go to the outside meeting place, call 911 or the fire department. If there's smoke blocking the door or the first way out, use your second way out. Smoke is poisonous. If you must escape through the smoke, get low and go under the smoke to your way out. For more fire safety tips, visit us on Facebook at Manhattan Fire Department.
Brought to you by the Manhattan Fire Department and Manhattan Broadcasting Company.
When severe weather strikes,
tornado has now been confirmed.
We strike back with the information you need to stay safe. KMAN, Manhattan.